As soon as I open it, roaches. To where when I walked in the house,
did you scream?
You don't know my life, bro.
Welcome back to Econix Talks, guys.
When I pop up, everybody gonna be like, man, overnight success.
Lifestyle topics, entrepreneurship, and investing.
Are you serious about this? Because if you are, then I'm willing to back the business.
We want to inform you, educate you, and empower you so that you can maximize your life. Let's get started. What's up, everybody? I want to give a huge shout out to all the new supporters that have joined us this year, and I can never forget my day one, so shout out to y'all too. As most of you guys know, running an independent podcast takes a ton of time and energy. Now, if you ever benefited from an episode of this show or mini episodes and you'd like to support, you can do that by buying us a coffee. You can reach that by the support link in the show notes, or if you're following me or Econix on Instagram, it'll be in the link in the bio. And this will be used to cover any expenses that come with the show. I appreciate everything you guys have done, and this has been such a fulfilling year. Now, on to this episode. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Econix Talks. Guys, I want to first of all thank you for the people and the supporters that I have that actually bought me a coffee. So shout out to Olivia. Her name is Olivia Bleeker. Huge shout out to her for purchasing me a coffee, and a couple other people who decided to remain anonymous. So shout out to you. Shout out to everybody who's anonymous that also bought coffees as well. Guys, I appreciate the support. 100,000, over 100,000. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but I appreciate y'all so much. So thank you guys. And again, any of those donations do go to the support of the show. So now we're going to go ahead and get started on this episode. So today, guys, we're going to be talking about Kanye and Adidas, more specifically their partnership. We're going to analyze and break down their partnership and just break down, what's going on with them. Now, we're going to start back in November of 2013. So if you guys remember, before Kanye partnered with Adidas, he was with Nike. So during this time, he was very disgruntled. He was about to split with Nike. There was a lot of back and forth. Well, the reason why he was complaining about Nike was because Nike refused to pay him royalties on the Yeezy sales. Well, if you guys remember that Sway in the Morning interview, this is the interview everybody remembers. You ain't got the answers, Sway. You ain't got the answers. It's that interview. So in that interview, that's when Kanye's going off about, not getting paid. And what he was saying was, Sway was like, well, why don't you just build your own thing? And that's why Kanye was just saying well, you ain't got the answers, because that's not how it works, is what he was trying to explain. Now, it is pretty standard for a musician to receive royalties, so it makes sense for Kanye to ask this. And he actually, this is a Kanye quote, Nike told me, we can't give you royalties because you're not a professional athlete. Kanye, again, he says, I told them I'll go to the Garden and play one-on-one. I'm a performance athlete. That's Kanye. Now, later that month, Adidas actually announced their partnership with Kanye. So I'm going to run that back. So this is November 2013. He's in a partnership with Nike. But later that month, that's when he announced his actual partnership with Adidas. Now, at the end of 2013, Adidas ended the year with their North American sales down 1%. Now, I want y'all to note that. So when this deal was first started, Adidas, their North American sales were down 1%. And across their company, sales were also flat. So it wasn't even like they were doing well in other places. They were struggling they don't want to say struggling, but they weren't growing as a brand. And when your sales are down, obviously, well, that means something's not going right. So 2014 rolls around, and Nike and Kanye, they quietly did a release. So remember, this is after they said they split. So 2014, they released another shoe together. So this shoe was the famous Nike Air Yeezy 2s. Most people know these as the Red Octobers. So if you've ever seen a pair of Red Octobers, probably not in person, I doubt you. I ain't never seen a pair in person. A pair now is worth anywhere between 12 to 18,000. So I don't know if you would see anybody rocking a pair of Red Octobers around. So that was pretty much all of 2014. Now, in 2015, this is when Kanye and Adidas started to drop their first designs. So the first shoe that they dropped was the Yeezy Boost 720s. That dropped in February of 2015. And then later that year, Kanye also dropped the Yeezy 350s. Now, the 350s, that was named Shoe of the Year by Footwear News. Kanye was also named one of Time Magazine's most influential people. Now, the importance to that is it brought a ton of hype and a ton of notoriety to his brand. So with Kanye being who Kanye is, as any type of publicity or press, for the most part, if it's not, obviously wild, it's going to make people want to buy, more Adidas. Adidas later on in 2015 also launched their app for sneakerheads. So as if you've ever bought and sold sneakers or anything like that, because Adidas didn't necessarily have a shoe that people wanted to resell, they had no need to have an app for it. Well, Yeezy started to get into that realm, so they launched their own app. And at this time, their partnership was going really, really well. So 2016 rolls around, partnership's going great, and Adidas and Kanye decided that they wanted to sign a new deal. And that deal was signed through 2026. So at the time, Adidas said it was the most significant partnership between a non-athlete and a sports brand. And that's probably true. You don't really see you see some collaborations with sports brands and artists now, but at that level, at that magnitude, not really. So in December of 2016, Adidas was named Sports Business of the Year by Yahoo Finance. And they were named Sports Business of the Year because they were able to turn around a streak of U.S. market share losses. So I'm going to repeat that. Remember, 2 years prior, or this is 2016, and in 2013 they were in the red. And now, 3 years later, they've turned around a streak of those losses, and now they're doing, they're making money. So in the year 2016, they also dropped the Ultra Boost and the NMDs. So those really took off. That was one of the first pairs that really started to take off, into mainstream culture. And then we shift over to 2017. So this is when the Yeezy 700 Wave Runner dropped. These look like the little dad shoes. I'm not sure if y'all remember those, but a lot of people had those. So the Yeezy Wave Runners became one of the most popular Yeezys ever released. And honestly, y'all, personally, I'm not a big fan of Yeezys. I hear that they're comfortable. I'm just not a fan of the style. They just too bulky and they're too wide. So shout out to y'all who rock Yeezys, but not really my flavor. And again, back to 2017. So again, this became one of the most popular shoes ever released, and they officially passed Jordan as the number 2 sneaker brand in market share. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, that is extremely important. So if you guys know anything about resellers, y'all know Jay's retro Jordans go hard. A lot of people have died literally over Jordans. It's crazy. So for the Yeezy brand to surpass the Jordan brand as a number 2 sneaker brand in market share, that's a big deal. Now, Kanye also gifted his then wife, Kim Kardashian, $200,000 in Adidas stock. So obviously this was done in good faith to show that, his commitment to the company and to show like, hey, we doubling down on this. I really believe in this. All right. So 2018 rolls around, and this is kind of when Kanye started to trip. So Kanye said slavery sounds like a choice. I'm not sure if you guys remember the TMZ interview, but that's where he said that at. And that was the first time the Adidas CEO had to justify their relationship with him. He was quoted by saying, Kanye has helped us have a great comeback in the US. He said this on CNBC. And he also said, there is no doubt the Yeezy brand has a fundamental impact on our overall brand. So they kind of tried to dodge it. They really didn't address it. Honestly, they probably didn't even know how to at that point. Now, later on that year, Kanye also visited President Trump at the White House, and he also rocked the Make America Great Again hat. So obviously, guys, at the time, I mean, even still now, that symbol is very, very controversial, and people don't like it. So with that, he rocked the hat, and he also gave Trump partial credit for his move to Adidas. He's quoted by saying, "You gave me the heart to go to Adidas. This Adidas thing made me a billionaire." And that's just, for him to publicly praise the president at the time, with the president being so, again, controversial, that did not bode well for Adidas stock. That didn't bode well for him at all in his business ventures. Now, 2019 rolls around. So in February, now mind you, they're still doing well. Yeezys are still doing well. In 2019, in February of that year, Kanye lobbied to be the creative director of Adidas as a whole due to his success with the Yeezy brand. But y'all already know that wasn't going to happen. They were not about to let Kanye be creative director of Adidas. Not just Yeezy, but Adidas. Well, they weren't going to let that happen, but their stock price skyrocketed in 2019. I mean, it was crazy. So Yeezy sales actually topped 1 billion for the first time ever in 2019. And because of his partnership with Adidas, Kanye ended up going from $53 million in debt in 2016 to earning $150 million pre-tax 3 years later. Now, I'm not sure if you guys remember, but when Kanye was trying to, really get this fashion thing on the ground, he talked about how much debt he had gone into. He talked about how much money he had lost. So to hear and for it to be reported that, in 2019, he was $53 million in debt, and now, he was earning $150 million before taxes are taken out. That's a hell of a come up, man, in a short period of time. So in 2020, the market was hit. Everybody got crushed. But guess what? Not Yeezy. They actually sold nearly $1.7 billion in Yeezy products. They finished 2020 in the green in spite of the pandemic. And in September, Kanye asked to be on the board of directors. He said he wanted to be. He asked to be on the board of directors. But here's his response. He told them he would wear Jordans until they actually let him be on the board of directors. So he's trying to flex. So let me tell y'all what's going on. Kanye already knew. Kanye's aware. So think about Kanye. This is my speculation. He's not an idiot. So there's aspects of him that, have some type of intelligence. Well, Kanye knew he was bringing in most of the money. So he tried to leverage that to flex. Kanye didn't need Adidas as much as Adidas needed him. And that's where, a lot of this hinges on, because, fortunately for Nike, they are a big enough company. So when they split with Kanye, they didn't care, because they've already had, multiple shoes, multiple sneakers, multiple brand deals with top basketball players and other names that are huge. Well, Adidas didn't have that, and they still really don't. So with Kanye leaving, that definitely puts a damper on things. So back to 2020. So in 2020, he also announced that he would be running for president. When you run for president, you have to file your holdings with the Federal Election Commission. So in that filing, he valued his Yeezy LLC, the Yeezy Apparel LLC, and the Yeezy Footwear LLC at $50 million apiece. So that's where we kind of get the valuation that his business is worth the $150 million. In spite of the pandemic, in spite of all of that, it's crazy. If you check out the stock price, if you check out just how the market was moving for Adidas at that time, everybody was tanking. But to see them not only tank, but rebound and surpass where they actually opened at in the beginning of 2020, that's doing some numbers. Now, 2021 rolls around, and by the end of that year, Adidas North American sales jumped 17% to 5.1 billion. In 2020, they did 1.7 billion in Yeezy products. And in 2021, they did 5.1 billion. So the money's there. I mean, everybody's pretty much banking, and nobody's complaining. Now, they also had a celebrity lineup that included Beyonce. They also got Pharrell on and Bad Bunny. So now they're starting to dip over into more mainstream artists and to expand and push that brand even more. Now in 2021, the Yeezy foam runners dropped that summer and they were really popular for resellers. Now, this is interesting because y'all know how, I'm not sure if you guys know how this works in a sneaker company, but a lot of times you'll see a top shoe and you'll see somebody that will remake the shoe and try to resell it for a cheaper price. Well, Walmart did this, and y'all know Walmart, they'll have a lot of, essentially not like knockoffs, but they're, copycats of a lot of popular shoes. And in this fashion, they did the same thing, but Kanye actually sued Walmart because he said that they violated his shoes and they copied them. They actually ended up settling, but the amount that they settled for was never disclosed. But y'all know he got paid. So that's that. Now in June, now we're going to skip to this year. That was last year. Nothing too crazy about last year. They was pretty much just making money. Now this year is when things really started to get rocky. So in June of this year, Adidas dropped their Adelaide slide, which looks like a version of Yeezy slides. Kanye was pissed, and Kanye actually called out the CEO and he said he was tired of all the copying. Now, he said a bunch of other things, but that's just to sum everything up. That's pretty much what he was saying. He's pissed off about everybody copying. Now, if you've ever shopped for shoes, you'll know, okay, I'll use Jordan, for example. So if y'all have ever seen retro J's, those are like the most popular Jordans. Those are the most expensive ones. Those are where the resellers typically go. Now, what you'll also notice is you have another brand called like Team Jordan, and you got other Jordans. People do not like those Jordans. And the reason being is because they're essentially like a lower product or a lower tiered product for customers who may not be able to afford the retro Jordans, or they may not have access because of the limited supply. Well, in this case, because the Yeezys were or are so popular, problem with that is a lot of companies, they do drop those lower tier models. But in this case, Adidas doesn't own, they're not able to just drop copycats like that without Kanye, getting pissed off and or whatever. But, and we'll cover that in a second because it does get interesting. But with him calling out the CEO, again, that's why he said he was tired of them copying, because this wasn't the first time that they had this issue. And he also demanded a meeting with them. Now, in September of this year, Adidas CEO, he said that he will be retiring at the end of the year. And Kanye decided to respond to that by posting a fake New York Times cover. And it said Casper roster dead at 60, which is their CEO. Personally, guys, man, that's, I don't understand why he would do that. But, that's the road he took. That's the choice he made. And, it just caused more drama and caused more commotion between him and the company. And maybe that was his end goal. Maybe that's what he really wanted. Maybe he really wanted to get out of his deal. But regardless, soon after he posted that, he said that he will be ending all of his corporate partnerships. And a few days later, that's when he announced that he was ending his relationship with Gap. Shortly after, in October, that's when Kanye wore the White Lives Matter t-shirt. Again, just purposely being controversial. For what reason? I don't know. Again, he might be trying to get dropped. But at the end of the day, he was doing what he wanted to do. A few days after he wore the White Lives Matter t-shirt in Paris, that's when he started to post the anti-Semitic remarks on Twitter, and that got his account shut down. This is a sidebar, but what's crazy about this story, as far as the anti-Semitic remarks, the founders of Adidas, Time Magazine actually did an expose on Adidas as a company, but their founders were members of the Nazi Party, but they don't mention that in their history. So I just want to note that the founders of Adidas were members confirmed of the Nazi Party. Kanye actually went on another podcast called Drink Champs. So if y'all follow Drink Champs, I know this. It's Nori and somebody else. Now, he's quoted. Here's a quote from Kanye from that episode. The thing about me and Adidas is like, I can literally say anti-Semitic shit and they can't drop me. I can say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me. Now what? End quote. Kanye goes on this podcast and he says that, and he's literally stirring the pot. Just contextualize this for a second. Adidas already has a jaded history because their founders were former Nazis. Kanye goes on a very, very popular podcast and starts to say anti-Semitic stuff and dares them pretty much to drop him. With him saying something like that, and if Adidas does not make a move with their history, like he pretty much tied their hands, they had no choice. They actually met, the board of directors met on the 25th of October, and the meeting only lasted 2 minutes, y'all. They dropped them. It was a unanimous decision. It was not even a real discussion. They already knew what was happening. Adidas then said that they expected, now here's where things kind of suck. So Adidas said that it expected its bottom line to take a $247 million hit for the year. And it also pulled all the remaining Yeezy products off the shelves. And that's crazy, man. That's crazy. Let's pay attention to how Adidas has actually pivoted. So in November, there's more stuff coming out, right? There's more stuff coming out. So they announced a new CEO in November. And remember, this is a German company. The CEO's his last name is Golden. I can't pronounce his first name. Now, he's a former top executive at Puma. And he also is known for his work with celebrities like Rihanna and Jay-Z. So they made sure to hire somebody with some credibility and experience. And this is good in their sense because they understand, all right, we have a fire. We need somebody that knows how to manage this and can take us forward and make the proper adjustment so that way we can get out of this. Adidas projected to make around $500 million in quarter four. But because of this split, they not only lost the money, but they lost half of that. $250 million they've lost in this quarter. The CFO announced on their earnings call that the company's annual revenue, so this quarter they're down $250 million, but over the course of the year, they will be roughly down $502 million. And that's a lot lower than what they expected this year. So not only are they taking a hit on the quarter, but over the year, they're down $502 million. So that's a huge, like that's a lot of money, y'all, for a company to lose. That's not anything to scoff at. Some good news for them is they are expecting to recoup around $302 million in 2023 from royalties and marketing costs that it does not have to pay out next year to support the Yeezy brand. So again, Kanye was getting royalties off this, and obviously that costs marketing. So they just saved all of that money, which is, that's good. But they still aren't bringing in as much income. So, it's give and take. Now, their CFO also reiterated this. The company owns the designs it made in partnership with Kanye. So what that means is all of the designs that they made that Kanye made, the company owns those. But the namesake, that's what Kanye owns. The only shoe that Kanye has the rights to is the Yeezy Slide. And that's because Kanye actually owns the patent to that. But the other designs that we talked about earlier, Kanye does not own those shoes. He just owns its likeness. The CEO is quoted by saying that Adidas is the sole owner of all design rights registered to existing products, and we intend to make use of these rights as early as 2023. So what the CEO has already said, or that's the CFO talking, but what Adidas as a whole has already said that they would be utilizing their rights to potentially release the Yeezys without the Yeezy name. So we'll see how that transpires. So that's where this case study stands as of now, but I am curious to see what adjustments Adidas will make. So how will customers respond to their new drops? Will they buy them? Will they not? And if so, how does Adidas take that and make an attempt to build a new brand or parlay that off to kind of build some sustainability in their reseller market? If I were in their shoes, here's what I do. I focus on bringing on some young basketball talent, some younger stars. Puma has actually done a great job of this. They've really started to diversify and bring on younger talent, which has allowed them to really start to build their brand for the next generation of basketball stars. That's an area that I would focus on if I was Adidas. I'd also look into more deals with independent artists that have very strong followings. The reason why is because, like y'all know, typically your independent artists, they have cult followings. Like, think about J. Cole before J. Cole was signed. J. Cole has a cult following because of how he started. So because of that, I go that route. I partner with them and try to build out some type of brands and figure out how that will work. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like, share, subscribe, and let me know what you think about this episode. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. Have a good one. Peace.